So I was pretty unaware of a lot of Hepworth's work before I got involved in this project. So I spent a lot of time orientating myself around her ideas, her life, what she was really interested in. One of the things I was immediately struck by was her fascination with the sea and by extension the weather and the wilderness. There's a really fascinating clip in one of her documentary about her, in which you can see her sculpting away and then the Sea of St Ives in the background. After I looked into that clip, I actually realised that her studio was not within sight of the sea. She'd staged the entire shot. I think it says a lot about her and how she wanted the audience to view her art, that she went to such lengths to connect the sea and the wilderness to her work, especially the outdoors. That was one thing of Hepworth's work that I found really fascinating. The other side of it was the primal and the almost pagan aspects to some of her ideas. Some of her later works really resemble Stonehenge in their sort of block stone structures. Those works I wasn't actually as fascinated by some of her other things like Pelagos, or really obviously like sea forms and things. But the idea of the pagan and England before Christianity really resonated with me. I wanted to connect those to music in a way, like in a very, very obvious way. So I set about researching as much as I could pagan music, which was an absolute dead end because it was pre-notation. That was only really came to England post-Christianity. So then I looked at oral traditions, but it's so far back that there was no hope of finding any music from that period. I moved on to sort of folk catalogues and looked through lots and lots of books which had folk tunes transcribed in them, none of which really excited me very much, probably because they really quantize and draw out any of the interest in the folk music by making it in Western classical notation. I eventually came across this really old recording in a bar of a man singing an ancient Cornish folk tune that translates to being called a White Rose. I don't know the Cornish name for it, but I took that melody, I really hung on to that melody and then designed my piece around that.